Brum bum. Brum bum. Rejuvenation. 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 What's up, everyone? It's me, Jason. Happy Friday night. It is currently 11:39, and it was a pretty fun day of movie watching. Um, as you can tell, I'm bald, or I was bald, and my hair's growing back. Um, if you live in Rhode Island, you've probably touched my head, so thank you for that. But that's beside the point. I am here today to give my input on Power Rangers, the newest movie. Just thinking about it makes me smile. If that's not enough for you, then I don't know what is, because this movie was amazing. Um, I want to just start off with this disclaimer. If you're looking for a movie that's gonna blow your mind in a thought-provoking way, like Inception, Arrival, or even like La La Land, it's not that movie. But if you're a huge Power Rangers fan, if you love, I don't know, if you've been a teenager in the past 5 years, then you'll just really grasp onto this movie. Let me get my notes for it. Um, first I'll talk about the actual film style of it, because it was a lot different than your average either teen film or an action film. It was very stylistic. The way that it was cut was kind of like a graphic novel, with the panels and just how some shots were angled, and just the transitions between a shot that was this angle and a shot that was like upside down almost. There were a couple scenes um, where they're going through water, and then gravity kind of shifts, and then their like positioning kind of shifts too. And it's a very some whoever directed it took very good care of it. There's, I think, one my favorite scene in terms of the actual style of the film, is when one of the characters gets in a car accident, and it just like kind of keeps turning the frame, and it's just shot very well. I'm not a film major, so I probably don't even know what I'm talking about, but it was just like a cool thing to watch. Very different than the a lot of the superhero movies that are being released. So it was a very refreshing film in that sense. I'll start with the villain. Elizabeth Banks was Rita Repulsa. You're gonna get the cliche how she got into the world. Um, and I'll probably talk more about her in the spoiler part. Right now, this is spoiler free, just in case people haven't seen it. But it was a good interpretation of Rita Repulsa. It wasn't that outlandish, whatever, the horns on her and the obnoxious voice, but I think Elizabeth Banks did a very good job of really making it her own character, and just kind of adding a different flair to the kind of character that Rita Repulsa is. It's still pretty grounded. What I tell a lot of people is, what would an alien look like in today's world? And it definitely would not look like Rita Repulsa in the '90s, but who knows, because we don't know what aliens are like. But it would be more like what Rita Repulsa is in this movie. Um, Other characters, we'll go with the main five characters. I think they were all casted very well. They all had their own little moments, that really, it was very touching. It was a very empathetic movie for teenagers these days. A diverse cast, and they acknowledge the diverse cast. They acknowledge how, you know, there's just a whole. It's more than just the races of the characters. Um, the Yellow Ranger, she's lesbian. Um, Blue Ranger, he has autism. So it's just like kind of bringing all of these, um, I hate using diverse, but that's the only thing I can think of right now, is these diverse characteristics, um, and just showing how no matter what background you're from, um, you know, the differences you have, they don't really matter because, as the tagline says, together we are stronger as a whole, or something, or together we are more. So that was just a very cool thing to see. I loved Alpha 5. Um, it wasn't as, it's kind of like Reader Pulse. It wasn't as outlandish as the '90s. It was more, a little bit more grounded, very sarcastic, which I like. I really like, um, kind of the back and forth between Alpha 5 and Zordon, and Alpha 5 and some of the Rangers. Um, I liked Bryan Cranston as Zordon. Um, I think he had a he had a more commanding approach to Zordon than in the '90s, which I liked. And they both had the, oh, they're just millennials attitude, which was, it was pretty relatable. Uh, the action was great. It was a very patient movie. You're not gonna get fight scene after fight scene after fight scene. It was kind of like the '90s movie where there was one initial fight scene, and then they had to go on their quest for finding teamwork, and then they had their finale fight scene. But this one, really took its time. They didn't really morph until 2/3 in, until the third act. They kind of teased the morphing, but then I think what they did a very good job of building it up, to really show the respect for the fans. In the sense of, they tease Billy getting morphing into the blue suit, but then they didn't really know why he morphed and how he morphed. And then as soon as they morph, I guess we're in spoilers. Oops. I'm just gonna go into spoilers. So as soon as and then once they find out how they morph, that's when the punchline of "it's morphin' time" comes. And just as soon as once that happened, then that's when the fan respect started happening. A lot of Easter eggs, a lot of visual audio cues, for the '90s show. You can ask some of my teammates that went, as soon as they played the Go Go Power Rangers theme song, when they all got in their Zords, I had probably the biggest smile on my face that I've had in a movie theater probably ever. It was it's definitely a film that's made for the fans and made by the fans, or made by a fan. Speaking of Zords, there's a ton of Zord action. There's probably more Zord action than on foot action, which I think was okay. The fight scene where they are finally suited up, it was good. Kind of repetitive. I think the only thing that I like, actually I like, the most of the fight scenes, and probably one of my favorite aspects of the movie, was the commentary, and their dialogue during the fight scenes. It reminded me of the '90s show and the '90s movie. When Zach rips off the head and says "heads up," it was a direct throwback to the '90s movie when they're fighting the jelly guys, and he kicks them in the head and says "heads up," which I thought was awesome. In terms of more spoilers, the first scene was probably, talk about expanding lore and of a series, and just like just grounding it. I loved it. It showed that Zordon was the original Power or Red Ranger, and that Rita Repulsa was the original Green Ranger. And it reminded me of the rated R version of Power Rangers. That was, I think it was released 2 or 3 years ago. It was when I was in high school, so it made longer than 2 years ago. And it was just like a very dark intro, of how the first Power Rangers were destroyed during the era of dinosaurs. And it also shows, like, it gives backstory of how Rita Repulsa knows Zordon and Alpha 5, and kind of their relationship prior to the 5 Power Rangers that we have today. The Green Ranger was also teased, Green Ranger being Tommy. He was teased at the end credit scene. It was kind of like a Ferris Bueller moment where the detention teacher calls Tommy Oliver, and it just kind of, they pan to the hallway, then they pan to the school, and it's just, he just like Tommy Oliver, and that was just like a nice little throwback. And then, I I'm trying to speculate what's to come next, what villains they want to bring in. Um, I think there's a graphic novel that's coming out called Aftershock, so it's directly after the film, which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I think they could. I mean, I'm gonna read it and then probably give a review after that, and then give more speculation. But I think by doing this, if they release the villain that I think they're going to do for the sequel, if they end up doing that for the graphic novel, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. Um, but I'll read that and then see what happens. But yeah, and oh, of course, the Krispy Kreme product placement. I thought was hilarious. That they found out that the Zeo crystals are underneath of the Krispy Kreme, and just the way that they reveal it is incredible. And then that Rita Repulsa, she just like takes a bite out of the donut, and it's just, I love that movie. And then I pretty much spent all today just thinking about that movie and how much it reminded me of my childhood. And oh, it's bringing a tear to my eye, but I just, yeah, it's just a very good, um, it's a very carefully made fan film. And I'm very excited to see what they do with the sequels. So my final verdict, I will give it, with all things considered, fat Jasons out of five. Only because I went into this film not thinking it's gonna be an Arrival or an Interstellar. I went into it thinking it's gonna be a revitalization or a rejuvenation of this series, and they did a very good job with it. Um, there's been awful reboots where they try to either stick to the same equation or try to change things too much. Kind of like Transformers, I wasn't a huge fan of. Ghostbusters sucked. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sucked. But this is the first reboot where I have full confidence in a sequel coming, and I'm very excited to see where they go next. I really hope it gets greenlit soon, because I want to see the Green Ranger in this universe that they're creating. So yeah, that's my review. Goodbye.